Fall of Bashar al-Assad, a turning point in Syria's history. Damascus, Syria, December 8, 2024. After more than 2 decades of authoritarian rule, Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, has fallen from power, marking the end of an era that left the country ravaged by war, economic collapse, and political unrest. Assad's departure from Syria has sent shockwaves across the Middle East, leaving many to wonder what the future holds for the war-torn nation. Bashar al-Assad, 59, was born on September 11, 1965, in Damascus, Syria. The son of Hafez al-Assad, who ruled Syria from 1971 to 2000, Bashar was initially trained as an ophthalmologist in London and was not expected to enter politics. However, the sudden death of his elder brother Basil in a car accident in 1994 forced Bashar into the role of heir apparent. When Hafez al-Assad died in 2000, Bashar assumed power at the age of 34. Initially seen as a potential reformer, his rule quickly became characterized by brutal crackdowns on dissent, authoritarianism, and a cult of personality. His presidency reached a tipping point in 2011 when peaceful protests against his regime were met with violent repression, sparking a devastating civil war. Bashar al-Assad's 24-year rule leaves behind a deeply scarred nation. The Syrian civil war resulted in the deaths of more than 500,000 people and displaced over 13 million, both internally and abroad. Entire cities were reduced to rubble, and the once thriving economy lies in ruins. Despite surviving multiple attempts to overthrow him during the civil war, Assad's regime never regained full legitimacy or stability. His reliance on foreign powers like Russia and Iran, coupled with widespread human rights abuses, tarnished his image both domestically and internationally. Assad's regime faced growing pressure from multiple fronts in recent years, culminating in his dramatic downfall. Key factors that led to his fall include: Syria's economy has been in freefall for years, with skyrocketing inflation and widespread shortages of basic goods. The Syrian pound lost nearly all of its value, leaving millions of citizens in poverty. Popular discontent over deteriorating living conditions reached a breaking point in 2024, sparking mass protests in major cities. The Syrian civil war, which began in 2011 after Assad violently suppressed peaceful protests during the Arab Spring, left the country fractured. While Assad regained control over much of the country with the help of Russia and Iran, many regions remained under the control of Kurdish forces, rebel groups, and extremist factions. His inability to unify Syria under a legitimate and stable government eroded his authority. Russia, one of Assad's primary backers, began to distance itself from the regime amid growing international sanctions and its own economic challenges. Iran, though supportive, could not fully prop up Assad's government in the face of internal discontent and opposition from Western nations. Assad's grip on the military and intelligence apparatus began to weaken in late 2023, with reports of high-ranking officials defecting to opposition groups. The loss of loyalty within his inner circle hastened his downfall. According to sources close to the regime, Bashar al-Assad has sought refuge in Russia, a country that had been a key ally throughout the Syrian civil war. Unconfirmed reports suggest that he is currently residing in Moscow under the protection of Russian authorities. While some speculated that Iran could have been his destination, experts believe that Iran's growing domestic instability made it an unlikely sanctuary. Assad's departure from Syria echoes the fate of other autocrats who fled their countries in the face of popular uprisings. However, questions remain about whether Russia will continue to support him or eventually hand him over to international authorities, as calls for accountability for war crimes committed during his rule grow louder. The fall of Assad presents both challenges and opportunities for Syria. In the immediate aftermath of his departure, opposition groups have taken control of key parts of the country, but deep divisions remain among them. Syria now faces the daunting task of rebuilding a nation devastated by more than a decade of war, with an estimated 500,000 people dead, millions displaced, and infrastructure in ruins. International actors, including the United Nations, the United States, and regional powers like Turkey, are likely to play a significant role in shaping Syria's future. Talks of a transitional government are already underway, But the road to peace and stability will be long and fraught with obstacles. The question of accountability for crimes committed during the Assad era will also loom large, with survivors and human rights advocates demanding justice. For the Syrian people, the end of Assad's rule marks a glimmer of hope for a better future. However, the scars of war and division will take generations to heal. As Syria begins this new chapter, the world watches closely, hopeful that the nation can finally emerge from the shadow of conflict and authoritarianism into a brighter, more democratic future.